students, welcome to today's session. Lesson 14, Normative Media Theories. Introduction. Normative media theories are frameworks that offer perspective, guidelines and recommendation on how media should ideally function in society. Unlike descriptive theories that aim to explain how media operate in reality, normative theories provide normative or value-based perspectives suggesting what the role of media ought to be. These theories often reflect the diverse philosophical viewpoints on the purpose and responsibilities of media in contributing to the well-being of a community or society. The three prominent normative theories are authoritarian theory, libertarian theory and social responsibility theory. Objectives of the lesson: understanding normative media theories, explore the impact of authoritarian media theory on freedom of expression and democracy in diverse global contexts, investigate the role of state-controlled media in shaping public opinion and narratives in democratic societies with focus on India, assess the implication of social media manipulation and propaganda on political narratives during elections and critical events, analyze the challenges posed by authoritarian media systems to media pluralism, diversity of opinions and the overall health of civil society. Three prominent normative theories. Now, let's have a brief understanding of these theories. Authoritarian theory. This theory suggests that media should serve the interests of the state and be subject to government control. The idea is that media should be a tool for promoting government policies, maintaining social order and reinforcing the existing power structure. Critics argue that this approach can lead to censorship, propaganda and limited freedom of expression. Libertarian theory. In contrast to the authoritarian theory, the libertarian theory emphasizes the importance of a free and independent media. It argues that media should operate without government interference and be driven by the principles of free speech, individual rights and democratic values. Advocates of this theory believe that a diverse and competitive media environment is essential for a healthy democracy. Social responsibility theory. Social responsibility theory suggests that media has an obligation to serve the public interest and contribute to the well-being of the society. While it supports the idea of a free press, it also emphasizes that media organizations should act responsibly and ethically. This theory encourages media outlets to provide accurate information, promote diverse viewpoints and avoid sensationalism or harm to society. Now, let's have a detailed understanding of authoritarian theory. Authoritarian media theory is a normative perspective that advocates for strong government control and intervention in the functioning of media. This theory suggests that media should serve the interests of the state and contribute to the stability and control of government. Now, we shall understand about important points and details with regard to authoritarian theory. State control. The theory supports the idea that the government should have a substantial role in regulating and overseeing media organizations. This control may extend to ownership, content and distribution channels. Example, in India, the government has control over state-owned media outlets like Doordarshan and All India Radio. These outlets receive funding and direction from the government, potentially influencing their editorial policies and content to align with government narratives. Instrument of the state. Media in this context is considered an instrument of the state, meant to propagate official ideologies, policies and narratives. It plays a crucial role in shaping public opinion to align with government's perspective. Example, during periods of political unrest or controversies, there have been instances where state-controlled media in India is used to propagate the government's viewpoints and control the narratives. This can involve presenting information in a way that supports government policies and downplays dissenting opinions. Censorship and regulation. Authoritarian regimes often employ censorship and strict regulations to control the information disseminated through media channels. This can involve suppressing dissenting views or content perceived as contrary to state's interest. Limited freedom of expression. While media outlets may exist, there is often limited freedom of journalists and media professionals to express dissenting opinions or critique the government. The emphasis is on maintaining a controlled and unified narrative. Example, journalists and media organizations critical of the government in India have in some cases faced challenges, legal actions such as defamation suits and charges of sedition have been used against journalists, potentially curbing their freedom to express dissenting views. Propaganda and nationalism. Authoritarian media commonly engages in propaganda to cultivate a sense of nationalism and loyalty to the state. News and information are presented to foster a positive image of the government and its policies. Example, nationalistic propaganda through media channels is not uncommon in India. During political campaigns or events, state controlled and even private media may emphasize a patriotic narrative, aligning with the government's agenda to foster a sense of national unity. Criticism. Lack of pluralism. Authoritarian media systems are often criticized for lacking diversity of opinions and perspectives. The control asserted by government results in a media landscape where only a narrow range of viewpoints is allowed, stiffening the richness of public discourse. Example, in China, the government tightly controls media outlets, ensuring that they align with the principles of Communist Party. Independent voices and alternative viewpoints that challenge the official narratives are often suppressed. The lack of pluralism limits the variety of perspectives available to the public. Limited freedom. Authoritarian media systems face criticism from restricting freedom of the press, inhibiting journalists from reporting on issues that may be critical of the government. The limitation hampers the free flow of information essential for an informed citizen. Example, in Turkey, the government's crackdown on media outlets critical of president have resulted in the arrest of journalists and the closure of independent news organizations. Journalists faced legal challenges and this restriction on their freedom limits their ability to provide unbiased information. Potential for abuse. Authoritarian media systems are susceptible to abuse, as those in power may manipulate media to serve their interests, suppress dissent and consolidate control over the narrative. Example, in Russia, the government's influence over media outlets have been criticized for serving as a tool to consolidate political power. Independent journalists and media organizations critical of the media have faced intimidation and there are allegations of state-controlled media being used to shape public opinion in favor of the ruling regime. Now let's understand about authoritarian theory in Indian scenario. Though authoritarian theory is relevant in countries like China, North Korea, Russia, where government has maximum power to control media, let's try to understand how it works in democratic country like India. It's important to note that India has diverse and pluralistic media landscape, and experiences can vary across different regions and media organizations. Here is how elements of authoritarian media theory function in the Indian context. Online censorship and control. The Indian government has at times been criticized for attempting to regulate and control online content. This includes instances of internet shutdowns in specific regions during periods of unrest and attempts to regulate digital media and social media platforms. Example, the Government of India has on occasion directed internet service providers to block access to certain websites and social media platforms during times of unrest or protest. For instance, the 2019 Jammu and Kashmir lockdown, internet services were suspended to control the flow of information. Surveillance and cyber security. Concerns have been raised about the use of surveillance technologies and cyber security measures by the government. Instances of surveillance on activists, journalists and citizens have been reported, leading to debates about privacy and freedom of expression. Example, the use of surveillance technology and cyber security measures have been a topic of concern. The introduction of projects like centralized monitoring system and the use of tools like Pegasus for surveillance purposes have raised questions about privacy and potential infringement on citizens' rights. Social media manipulation. There have been allegations of social media manipulation, including the use of bots and coordinated campaigns to shape public opinion. This has been observed during elections and political events where efforts are made to control the narrative on online platforms. Example, there has been allegations of social media manipulation during election campaigns. Instances of coordinated effort on platforms like Twitter and Facebook to influence public opinion and shape political narratives have been reported. Internet shutdowns. India has experienced a significant number of internet shutdowns, particularly in regions facing civic unrest or during protests. While the reasons often cited are the maintenance of law and order, critics argue that these shutdowns are a form of controlling the flow of information. Example, India has seen a number of internet shutdowns. For instance, during protests against Citizenship Amendment Act and National Register for Citizens, internet services were frequently suspended in certain areas to curb the spread of information. Laws targeting online expression. The introduction of laws such as Information Technology, Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021 have raised concerns about freedom of expression online. The rules empower the government to regulate digital media and social media platforms, leading to debates about potential censorship. Example, the Information Technology Rules 2021 introduced by the government empower authorities to regulate digital media and social media platforms. This has sparked concerns about potential censorship and government control over online expression. State-controlled digital platforms. While India has a vibrant private media sector, there are state-controlled media outlets such as Doordarshan and All India Radio. Critics argue that these outlets may be influenced by the government, impacting their editorial independence. Example, Doordarshan and All India Radio, state-owned media outlets, are funded and controlled by the government. Critics say that editorial independence might be compromised as they could prioritize government-friendly narratives. Digital propaganda campaigns. Political parties and government agencies have been accused of using digital platforms for propaganda campaigns. This involves disseminating information that supports their agenda, sometimes through misleading or false narratives. Example, during election campaigns, political parties have been accused of using digital platforms for propaganda. This involves disseminating information that supports their political agendas and at times spreading misleading or biased narratives. It's crucial to emphasize that the Indian media landscape is diverse with numerous independent media outlets and a vibrant civil society that actively engages in debates about media freedom and freedom of expression. While instances reflecting elements of the authoritarian media theory exist, there should be understanding within the broader context of India's complex media environment. Advantages of authoritarian theory. While authoritarian media theory is generally criticized for limiting freedom of press and suppressing dissent, proponents argue that it can have sudden perceived advantages depending on the perspective and objectives of those in power. It's important to note that these perceived advantages are often subjective and may not align with democratic principles. Here are some arguments that proponents might put forth as potential advantages of the authoritarian media theory. Social stability. Authoritarian control over media is believed to contribute to social stability by preventing the spread of dissenting or destabilized information. This stability is seen as crucial for maintaining order and preventing social unrest. Government efficiency. The authoritarian theory suggests that media aligned with the government's goals can help in efficiently conveying policies and information to the public without the interference of conflicting narratives. This is perceived as promoting unity and coherence in governance. National unity and identity. Media under authoritarian control can be used to foster a sense of national unity and identity. It allows the government to shape narratives that emphasize common value, historical perspectives and a shared national identity. Control over information flow. Proponents argue that centralized control over media prevents the spread of false information and ensures that public receives accurate and government approved information. This is seen as a way to prevent the dissemination of misleading or harmful content. Efficient policy implementation. A media system aligned with government goals can facilitate the efficient implementation of policies. There is a belief that a unified media can effectively communicate policy objectives to the public and garner support from government initiatives. Avoiding of Western influence. Some proponents of authoritarian media systems argue that such control is necessary to resist external influences, particularly from Western media. They believe that strict control prevents the infiltration of foreign ideologies that may not align with national values. It's crucial to emphasize that while these arguments are presented as potential advantages, they are not universally accepted, and the authoritarian control of media is widely criticized for its impact on freedom of expression, democratic principles, and the overall health of civil society. Media systems based on the authoritarian theory are often associated with restrictions on individual freedom, limited pluralism, and lack of transparency. Disadvantages of authoritarian theory. Authoritarian media theory, which involves strong government control over media, is widely criticized for several reasons. The cons of this theory are often associated with the negative impact on freedom of press, democratic principles, and individual liberties. Here are some of the key criticisms and drawbacks. Limited freedom of expression. The most significant criticism is the severe limitation of freedom of expression. In an authoritarian media system, individuals, journalists, and media organizations may fear expressing dissenting opinions, criticizing the government, or covering issues that go against the official narrative. Censorship and lack of pluralism. Authoritarian control often leads to censorship, limiting the diversity of viewpoints available to the public. Lack of pluralism stifles healthy public discourse and prevents citizens from accessing a broad range of perspectives and information. Propaganda and manipulation. Authoritarian regime may use media as a tool for propaganda to shape public opinion in favor of the government. Information is often manipulated and dissenting voices are marginalized or silenced, leading to a distorted understanding of reality. Suppression of dissent and political opposition. Authoritarian media systems are associated with the suppression of dissent and opposition. Journalists critical of the government may face harassment, imprisonment or other forms of punishment hindering the development of a robust civil society. Lack of accountability. With limited press freedom and government control, there is lack of accountability in authoritarian media system. The government is less likely to be held accountable for its actions, and corruption or abuse of power may go unchecked. Stifling creativity and innovation. The control asserted by authoritarian regimes can stifle creativity and innovation in media content. Journalists and media organizations may be hesitant to explore new ideas and or challenges the status quo, leading to a stagnant media environment. Limited access to information. Citizens in an authoritarian media system may have limited access to unbiased and accurate information. Government controlled media outlets may prioritize information that aligns with the regime's narrative, leaving the public uninformed about important issues. Erosion of public trust. Government controlled media often leads to a lack of trust among public. Citizens may become skeptical of media content, viewing it as a tool of government rather than an independent source of information. Potential for manipulation in digital era. In the digital era, authoritarian regime may leverage advanced technologies for surveillance, online censorship and the manipulation of digital platforms to control information. This can further limit citizens' access to diverse opinions and independent news sources. Inhibition of societal progress. Authoritarian media systems may inhibit societal progress by suppressing innovation ideas and alternative viewpoints. The lack of open discourse and diversity of thought hampers the ability of society to adapt and evolve. These criticisms highlight the significant challenges and negative consequences associated with authoritarian media systems, emphasizing the importance of a free press in fostering democracy, transparency and civic engagement. Summary: the authoritarian media theory covers state control over media censorship, propaganda and the implications of online activities. The discussion explores the advantages and disadvantages of authoritarian media control, emphasizing its impact on freedom of expression, democracy and public trust. The analysis underscores the nuanced nature of media dynamics in India, emphasizing the diversity within the media landscape and ongoing debates surrounding media freedom and expression.